So first of all, let me give you a brief welcome. As I said, I'm Dr. Trey, and I am your facilitator and hopefully eventually your future coach doing the session tonight. So what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, because there are a lot of people that are registered for this session, though there's not that many people here right now, I don't want to take up too much time with long introductions. So if you could just put your name and location in the chat. I already know Noah, who is logging in from Nigeria. So nice to meet you. And if the rest of you wouldn't mind, go ahead and putting your name, whatever name you like to be called, and your location in the chat, that would be awesome. I'll just give you a few moments. Alrighty. And I'm going to try not to butcher anybody's name. Anaba from Ghana. Amazing. Wonderful. Forgive me if I don't say it correctly. If I do say it correctly, let me know. Mary from Canada. Hi, Mary. Jill from San Francisco. Hi there, Jill. All right. Thank you guys for coming. This is my first time doing one of these free sessions on Leland. And I think you may have already read my profile, but in case you didn't, well, you know what? I don't want to waste any time. Does anyone that did not read my profile on Leland? Okay, Monterey from California, or Trevor from Monterey, California. Okay, awesome. Well, in case anyone, I don't know if everyone did. I think a couple people did. I am a 24-year, almost 25-year veteran of higher education. I have been a faculty member and or an administrator for all these years. And one of the favorite things that I love about my job that I still love after all of these years is helping people navigate the world of academia as a student and actually as a professional too. I've mentored lots of colleagues that were new to teaching or new to working with students or new to research as well. So I enjoy helping people find their way around that world. It's a world that's near and dear to my heart. We can do some amazing things if we challenge ourselves to higher education, and a lot of it is informal learning, not just the classes, but the things that we pick up along the way, you know. So it's a pleasure to meet everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get moving here because I want to make sure we end on time. And I've tried not to pack the session too much, but it may be a little busy. We're going to try to keep it under control, though. Again, I thank you for joining me. So here's what we're doing. Brief overview of the session. We'll start with a poll. I like to know a little bit about who's here. It helps me as we move forward. And then we'll review the learning objectives for the session. And then we'll review the RAB strategy. And I'll tell you what RAB stands for. It's an acronym I just made up to help me remember things, right? It's good to have that kind of stuff. We'll do a reflection about how to tell if a program is right for you, because that's a big part of writing a good essay. Last, we'll review an anatomy of a winning essay, and then we'll close the session with questions, closure, a little bit of free stuff for you. Okay? Please feel free to interrupt me if you have really brief, quick questions, and save your longer questions for when I pause to ask if anyone needs to ask anything. Okay, so first, let's see who is in the room. This is the poll. I don't know if you can click this here on the screen, but I'm going to put it in the chat for you. If you don't mind just taking that poll, and it's a Google form, and it will ask some things about you, and I'm going to show the results on the screen in just a moment. So I'll give you a second to answer those questions. It helps me to help you. Let me know if you have any trouble accessing it. Okay, I'm getting responses, so I'm going to go ahead and share the responses tab as the responses come in. Okay, here are some responses coming in. We have 3 so far. So these are the majors that I like to know who's here. As far as majors, my background is in education, educational research, psychology, and instructional technology and design. In instructional technology and design is a very multifaceted field, and so many fields are applied fields are. They're they draw on a lot of different domains of knowledge. Okay, we have, let's see, let me refresh here. All right, we have an IT person, business, public health, MBA. Okay, 2 business folks. Awesome. I didn't say turn them all off. Google tries to think for me. Okay, let me see what's join late. Oh, I can give you the link. No problem. Hello. There you go. Feel free to take it. You're welcome. I'll keep refreshing here. There's a tool called Poll Everywhere. I don't know if anyone's ever used that one. Very, very slick, much slicker than this. But I was concerned because it was so many people and I only have the free version. And the free version limits how many responses you can get. Menti. Oh, Menti is a good one too. You know, I've never used that, but a lot of people that I work with really like that one. Let's see what we got. We should just have just about everyone's taking it. That gives me a good idea of how many people we have here. Okay, so most people are looking for an in-person program. That's kind of important. I teach fully online and have done so for 8 years. So that's pre-COVID. Let me tell you, when COVID came, boy, was it something. It shook people so much and it was so difficult to get people to teach online all of a sudden that way. Okay. So everyone's pursuing a master's. Awesome. And we have lots of folks who are looking at fall 2026, one person looking at summer. Okay. And these are some different programs that people have. Okay, awesome. That you're looking at already have considered and researched. That's the key. And we have a couple people that are very confident. Awesome. And some people that are not so confident. That's totally fine. I'll do one more refresh and we'll move along. Okay, cool. All righty. So moving right along, going back to our slides. Thank you for doing that. So what do we want to do for this particular session? What we want to do is we want to help you walk away with a strategy for writing a really good essay, really good admissions essay. And these things, you'll find if you've ever done a cover letter for a job, it's a very similar process, very similar outcome. And you'll see when we cover these different objectives, looking at a strategy, looking at attributes that make a program good for you, And then also getting the handle on what really makes a well-designed personal statement, or we also call them admissions essay. Usually doctoral programs call them personal statements, but I'm using those terms synonymously for today. You'll find that it's similar to a really effective cover letter for a job. So you can use the same strategy, a very similar strategy if you're doing a job search. So let's get started. What is the RAB strategy? As I said, RAB is just simply an acronym to help us remember. Stands for research, alignment, and benefits. Basically, I see these three components as three interlocking concepts. The first two, research and alignment, those two fit together because as we research programs, especially if we are not sure what we wanted, or maybe we don't have a lot of people in our family or in our social circle who have been to graduate school, we may not know what we don't know. So as you research, you're also discovering what programs have, but you're discovering what's good for you and what's out there, what the possibilities are. So sometimes figuring out how things might align to you is going to be an iterative process as you do research. Both of these things together contribute to writing toward the mutual benefits. And this is key. A lot of times when we think about looking for a program, a master's or doctoral program, we think about what can the program do for you as a student, which is always the number one thing, always. However, the other piece that sometimes people miss is, what do you bring to that program? See, we want to get good students in there. We want students who are going to make our program shine. Remember, my name, if I'm your faculty member, my name is attached to you now. You graduated from my program. So we want good students who are going to give to the program as well. And we'll talk more about what that means. If you look here on the slide, let me know if you have any trouble seeing the words there. I wrote this down because there'll be a way you can get a copy of these slides for yourself so you can study them later. I wrote some key things to consider. For research, you're looking at key features, people, and services. For academics, of course, you're coming there to get a degree. You're coming in to get credentials. You're coming there to get skills and knowledge. So the academics is very important. Equally as important, though, is the elements of the context. And I'm talking about the culture. What type of contextual features does that program have that will support you in being the best student and the best professional that you can possibly be? Very, very important. The second piece, alignment, is what the A stands for. How well does this program meet your holistic needs? Not just your academic needs, but let's just say, I know in the program that I work in, we serve primarily working professionals. These are people that already have jobs that are coming back to either retool, they're coming to level up, or they're changing careers. Many of them have families, full-time jobs. Some of them have aging parents that they're taking care of. So the nature of the program, the context, the services it offers, the logistics, the delivery components, how fast they can get done, all of those things matter. What that culture feels like. Is it a community of professionals? Is it a community where people are expected to work alone? Do you have a cohort model? Is that what you're working with? All of that can determine what the culture feels like. Are you at a school or a department and a university that have a very student-focused orientation, so that they are doing so much to make sure that their students have all their academic and social needs met as much as possible? Or is it a university that's more faculty-centered? That matters, and there are ways you can find those things out. How do you use these two aspects to write about the mutual benefits? Put them together. What program aspects would benefit you in terms of your student experience? Are there specific faculty or program aspects that are of interest to you, like certain projects that they're working on in the program, certain other things that might be of interest? And then how does this help you with your future aspirations? Later, we'll do a reflection where we talk about what you bring and what you want and how those things can inform what you look for. And then last, what can you bring to the program as a student? What's fantastic about you that's well aligned with this program? How do we know you're going to finish? We want people to finish, especially doctorates. Not saying we want you to finish the master's too, but we don't like when students don't finish those doctoral degrees. Okay, we want you to finish. We want to support your success, and we want to make sure that you know what you're getting into and that you can make the program shine as a result of your being there. The better you can say that in your admission essay, the more likely your admission essay will land in a successful admission. So, second piece I want to talk about. Remember, if you're going to write a good essay, you need to know how that program aligns with your needs, alignment, and how you align with that program. So, how do you know if a program is right for you? I look at two different things. One, know thyself. You got to know what you want. You got to know what you want and who you are and what you bring to the table. I have one example of a student that this was many years ago. She was in not the program I teach in, but another program. And that program had faculty that were heavy research oriented faculty, very research oriented. But this student was really more practice minded. She really wanted to be a practitioner more than a researcher. Yet she got into a program where research was the big push. So when she shied away from doing research, she got a lot of pressure. As a result, she was a little unhappy. She beat herself up about not wanting to be a researcher. And I sat her down one day. I said, girl, listen, you are who you are. You are who you are. There is nothing wrong with being a practice focused person. You want to take the research that researchers do, the research findings, and you want to apply it to what you do. So to make somebody's life better, easier, stronger, what have you, solve a problem, solve an institutional issue. There's nothing wrong with that. So you be honest about what you want and who you are. Next, find your mirror. We tend to find ourselves while at university. Everyone here has probably, if you're not finished with a bachelor's degree, you're very close to it. You've noticed your own growth while you've been there at the university. You have noticed it. You find yourself. So you want to select an experience, a graduate school experience that would mirror your needs and help you grow into the person and professional that you really want to be. Find your mirror. Find your mirror. Some things to consider. Now I'm going to shoot this question back out to you guys before we start the reflection. In the chat, can you tell me what kinds of things might you consider when you're trying to figure out, you're assessing a program to see what's the alignment between what you need and what that program offers? What are some things? Go ahead in the chat and just off the top of your head, let me know some things that you may have already considered. Please share those for now. Mary says cost, how fast I can finish, alumni services, alumni quality, research ranking. Yes, absolutely. All those things are important. What are some other things? Funding, huge. Notice funding has been stated as the first thing twice by two different people. And there's so much variation in all these things across our great universities here in the US. Networking, that matters. And depending on your field, my folks who are in film studies or theater or any kind of performance work or art are going to be very dependent on finding places where they can grow as artists and network with other artists, for an example. I think everyone needs it, but I think often about those fields. How fast you can get a job. So do they have services that can match you with employers? Do they have possibilities for you to actually get out there and work as a part of your education and get some hands-on experiences and direct mentoring experiences from people in the field? What kind of relationships might they have with local industry? That kind of thing. The pedigree of the school, those things are important. Yes, industry connections, absolutely. You want to have, when you graduate, you want to feel good about the school that you got your degree from. Absolutely, it matters. Honestly, there's no wrong answer. It's about what is most important to you. If the professors are quality. Kevin says, research that I'm actually interested in, and it ties with the career you want. So you're looking for that connection between what you're doing, what your interests are, and what your future goals are. Trevor says the alumni who graduated, the reputation, things they're involved and invested in, their connections involved. Also, some other things that weren't mentioned is student support services. And this is particularly important for folks who end up in an online program. I've done some research about fully online graduate degree programs, and many universities have not yet really intentionally created services that are fine-tuned to the needs of fully online graduate students. Undergraduates have gotten some work, but graduate students who may have different needs from our undergraduates, absolutely. Yes, very important. The support services, absolutely. And we have all types of special needs as learners. I have ADHD and generalized anxiety disorder. So for me, being able to have a supportive environment, whether it's work, school, whatever I'm doing, is highly important for me. Okay. Well, thank you for adding your answers to that. Let's go ahead and do this little quick reflection. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to answer the prompt on the screen. I'm not going to read it. I'll let you read it, but I'll give you some tips. You're not thinking very long on this. The idea is to come right off the top of your head with the most important things. What's your current area of expertise? Quick, fast. 5 words or less. What experience do you want to have as a graduate student? What is your career goal, your vocational goal? What's your immediate next step? Just right off the rip. And then the last one is related to the idea of finding your mirror. You want to identify some features of your ideal program. Okay? Any questions about the prompt? And after that, we'll do a quick debrief. And I am going to set the timer for 5 minutes. All right, starting now. Build a company like Amazon. I hear that. You can feel free to share your reflections in the chat if you like, or you can just jot them down to yourself. One of the most important things that I remember from graduate school, for me, because I'm a very social person and I'm really a social butterfly, honestly, is the community. That was very important to me. I really needed to have a strong learning community, and I will create it. If it's not there, I'll create it. But I needed to make sure that the soil was ripe for that kind of creation, because every place isn't like that. Very important. Very important. There are no wrong answers. No wrong answers. It's all about what's important to you. And be honest. There's one thing I remember, and I learned this through trial and error over the course of my life, is when you show up real to the world, You show up as your real self saying, this is what I want. I'm not going to let people shame me into thinking that it's wrong. I want this kind of experience. Maybe I'm not into science. I'm an arts person. Or maybe I'm a woman who wants to do a career that is traditionally populated by men. Accept that that's what feeds you and what nurtures you. It's okay. Because when you do that, the things and people and experiences that are for you will find you. They will find you. You got about 2.5 minutes left. One of the other things that I like to talk to students about once they're in the program and they have to work with faculty members if they're doing a master's thesis or if they're doing a master's project or some other type of activity or independent study or practicum, and they have to work with faculty, is navigating relationships with faculty is usually pretty good. But every now and again, I have students that have a little trouble. They are worried about the faculty members' work style conflicting with theirs. Maybe they have a faculty member who is absent a lot, not absent meaning absent from work, not that kind of absent, but that faculty member is not communicative with them. And so they lose track of that, their advisor or so forth. I always try to give students lots of help about how to manage those kinds of relationships without making things go sour, because faculty do talk. We talk. We do. We talk. We're humans. Faculty are human beings. So if you're having trouble with a faculty member, tread carefully, because especially if you have a thesis or dissertation, you want people to want to work for you. I've seen students have a hard time finding someone because they didn't manage those relationships well. Okay, a few more seconds. And then I'd like for people to share a little bit about what they wrote. Okay. Okay, so in the chat, if you would, go ahead and state your current area of expertise in a very few words, a few words that describe the graduate study experience you need and want, your next step after finishing the program, and what your career goal might be. I'm sure most of you probably already have a general idea of what your career goal is. So please feel free. I didn't ask anyone's age either. Wondered. I'm in the middle of my life, so I'm experiencing an interesting time where I am thinking about what I want to do for the rest of my life. Again. Remember, you do this when you're a teenager, right? And you do it again once your kids grow up and you decide you want to do something different. Okay, is anybody sharing? I think Mary might be typing. Are you able to unmute? That would be so much faster. If I had used Zoom,
People can unmute you.
You can? Oh, good. Yay. You can feel free to unmute and share if you like. I think that would be awesome. Faculty validate. Oh, this is a big one too. Validating your input. Everyone wants to feel like their input matters. Thank you for sharing that, Trevor. Noah says current area of expertise, digital and e-commerce or onboarding and support specialists. Awesome. That is awesome. So Noah, can you tell me a little bit about your next steps? Mary's current area is policy and business. Very cool. And feel free to unmute if you rather speak it than type it. Oh, yes. That's Trevor, you're talking about hands-on experience, real world experience built into the program. Lots of programs do offer that. It's just about finding, it's just about finding them. There are tips to doing that as well.
Yeah, Dr. Trey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, would like to learn the rudiments of the e-commerce school.
The rudiments of, can you say that again?
Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
You said you wanted to learn the rudiments of.
I would like to learn and understand the rudiments of the e-commerce business.
Ah, I see. Yes. Yes, it's so big. It's so huge. The e-commerce is what we do now. Hard time with the fiber. You know what? That's understandable, Mary. We'll talk more about that. A job shadowing program as part of that is a very unique feature, and it's important. And it's a great way to see what's out there. Yeah. So for 5 specific features, let's talk a little bit about what that might look like. So I named one feature, community, right? I'm gonna want to have community. I need community because that is a part of how I connect, it's part of how I learn. Trevor talked about student support services because he neurodivergent. That would be important to me as well. Having a program too with a culture that is accepting of different learner needs, that is inclusive. Now, that's a separate issue from student support service and inclusive culture. Separate issue. I mean, it's related, but you can have a great student support services and then have faculty that are not really, on top of it. They don't have the level of sensitivity that's needed. And then, Mary, I do like what you wrote about having a job shadowing program. Someone else wrote having a program that would put them into the boardroom as an observer to gain insight. Having faculty who value your input as a student. That's encouraging you to have confidence, right? Those kinds of things are important to have. Another a logistical thing that helps my students, I work with students who are primarily working professionals. And so what happens is they go to work Monday through Friday, most of them. They don't look, and I teach fully online again, right? They don't look at a module until like Wednesday or later. They're using the weekends. I discovered really, really quickly that having my due dates on Sunday night, if you're ever taken online class, a lot of time this Monday through Sunday is the work week. Modules open Monday, they close on Sunday. That does not work well for students who like to work on the weekends because they work during the week. So I changed my schedule. Now all of my classes start on Wednesday and end on Tuesday of the following week. So if they have the weekend to do their work, and when I come to work on Monday morning, I get all their messages from the weekend and I can help them with questions and things like that. So those kinds of thoughtful little logistical things can make a huge difference with how successful and someone can feel in the program. What academic support services are there? Yes, you definitely can get those things, Trevor. Accommodations such as job coaching and job shadowing. And you can find programs that deliver on that. Absolutely. funding? Are there scholarships? Are there enrichment opportunities? Do they have, if that's something that's important to you, do they have opportunities for you to not just take classes and have these things that we're talking about here, but do they also have like contests for students to participate in, research activities for students to participate in, clubs and other types of things that might be important to you as a graduate student trying to grow as a professional, and for networking and leadership development? All of those different kinds of things matter. So that give you some examples of things to look for as you decide, what am I going to say in this essay? Speaking of which, if there's nothing else, I'll wait and see if there's anything else. I'm going to move on to the meat and potatoes. We've been building a building here with our content. Next thing, the anatomy of a winning essay. What does it look like? So let me first say that stuff that I put at the top, I know that's like, you guys are smart, you're very intelligent people. The schools that you're looking at let me know that you're on top of things as a student. It goes without saying that we want to use standard essay format, intro, body, conclusion. We want to make sure we don't have grammar, spelling, typos, and all those things. But the other formatting things, like using semi-formal to formal writing style, that is important to point out. We want to make sure this is easy for the audience to read. I look at, okay, I'll give you an example. In a cycle, in an admission cycle, when we're accepting students 3 times a year, I'm looking at anywhere between 50 to 70 essays. And I only have a week or two to look at them, to read them. So you got to make this easy for me to read. We're used to, as academics, used to reading in semi-formal writing styles. So using that style, semi-formal to formal, makes it easy for me to read. No more than 600 words. And those specifications, 1 inch, 12.1.15 spacing, those are what I like to see. If you have any specifications for the program admissions essay, make sure you read those. And that overrides anything that I say. 1.15 spacing, we're reading often from a screen. We're not printing these out 9 times out of 10. Sometimes people do, but oftentimes we don't. And so we're gonna need it easy to read on screen. If something is harder to read, we're not gonna feel good about it. And that's gonna affect how you're being assessed. I know it seems like it shouldn't, but it does. We're human. Faculty are human. They're human. So making it easy for us to read matters a whole lot. So that 1.15 spacing as opposed to 1 inch, one single spacing matters. Also, using a sans serif font, like I'll give you an example. The one that I have at the bottom, well, better, clear example. The serifs are the little things that point off the edge of the letters. That's a serif font. A sans serif font is like Arial. The font that's in the chat has no serifs. The one that I have the text, let's look at a sample essay, in the middle. The sans serif fonts, like the one that's in the chat, are the ones that are easier when you're reading Black words on white text from a screen. All this stuff matters. If you're not confident about your writing, get help with your writing. Don't be afraid to ask for a friend or someone to proofread it. You can even get a teenager to proofread it. The reason why is because it's going to meet any audience needs for quick reading if a 12th grader can read it easily. Okay, so now to the real meat here, the main thing, the anatomy of the essay. 5 different things. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 different things. Talk about you. Tell me your background and goals. Tell me the unique program and cultural attributes that you found using your research. Things that you like about the program. Tell me how those things align. How does the program align with you? And then why you? How do we know where you're going to finish? Convince me. Convince me that you're going to finish. Convince me that you're happy to be, that you're going to be thrilled to be in this program. How do you know that? You've done your research. You've done your research. So you know what the program has to offer you. And you also know the way you can show up to that program, bringing your very best self. Any questions before we move on to looking at a sample essay? Any questions? No questions? Okay, let's go ahead and look at the sample. What I've done is I've taken an essay, I've changed it around a little bit, and I have, let's see if we can get this one shared. Okay, can people see this? You see a sample essay?
Yes, I can see.
Thank you. Thank you for that affirmation. What I've also done is I've kind of annotated the pieces of the essay. Annotated the pieces. So remember earlier when I was saying that this has the feel of a cover letter for a job? You'll see what I mean. If you've ever had anyone coach you on how to write a good cover letter, you're going to see the similarities. You can tell me after we're done with this, let me know in the chat, do you see the similarities or not? Because maybe I'm thinking about it wrong, but I know what I was taught and what helped me land jobs. It was a similar thing. So, first of all, start out with an introduction that has a little bit of flair to it. Give me some excitement. So, if you can, is this big enough? Can you read this? Is it big enough for you? I hope so. I think I can make it bigger too. I think I can. Let's see if I can make it bigger. All right. I think that's better. Okay. So you got some general statements. I'm excited to apply for the Masters of Learning Technologies program at Ohio State. And then this general sentence here just tells about I'm passionate about this and I want to deepen my expertise. And then you can end that paragraph. And there's no one right way. There are like as many ways to do this as there are different snowflakes. Okay. So this is just a sample. You don't have to make yours look like any one sample. But it's good to have like this in that paragraph by saying, hey, your program and the things that I like about you fit well with what I want to do. This person wants to transition into a corporate talent development role. So now the next paragraph, the next few paragraphs are body paragraphs. Okay, this one, body your background, body alignment, body specific faculty mentioned, and then another body paragraph of why you would be successful and how. So let's talk a little bit about those. So for this one, it's good to start off with, this is who I am. This is who I am. Okay, this is my background. This is what I've done. Remember, this is a graduate program. Graduate programs want to see that you have already been working on yourself as a professional. You're not starting from scratch. Even if you're starting in a completely different field as what your background has been, you're still not starting from scratch. What if that's your situation? Then your challenge is to figure out what things about your background, whether it's your personal background, whether it's professional, whether it's anything in your life, what is the alignment between that background of experiences, rich experiences, your lived experiences? What is the alignment between that and the specifics of the program? Okay. I'm sorry, the goal, a nod to the goal. The program alignment comes up next. So let's just say this person has been an adjunct in a business college. Now they want to go, and they've been teaching technology. Now they want to go over into training and development and talent development. What can they bring from that background over into this other career goal? If you're in military, a former military and Air Force, let's just say, what were you doing in the Air Force that's related to your next goal? If they're different, if you're career changing, or if you're changing gears, you can always think of how those things fit together. Next, the next paragraph is about alignment, how the program aligns with your needs and wants. So now, here's what's going on with the program. It's fully online and asynchronous. I'm a working professional. That's important to me. The integration of research and theory with a focus on hands-on practice. That's my approach. That's important to me. The practical component, which will get me in the space with real working professionals in the field and allowing me to apply what I'm learning. That's important to me. And then I also spoke with one of the faculty members who told me a little bit about the logistics. That one key point that I mentioned earlier about the schedule that matters for this particular candidate. Okay, so just, you don't have to highlight every single thing that you love about it, but just those top 3 to 5 things. I would say no more than 5 across the whole letter is fine. And then the next piece, and this is really helpful, like this is how you level your admissions essay up. You, not only did you talk to a faculty member about the program, which shows that you have interest, it shows that you want to know more, it shows that you're bold and you're assertive about achieving your goals, but you also looked up the research and work of a faculty member in that program that fits with their work fits with your goals and expertise. Okay, that is key. Get in contact with a professor for research, and because they want to take you on, I'm answering Kevin's question, because they want to take you on. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. For many programs, Kevin, for many programs, we vouch for the students that we want to work with based on how it works with our own research and practice related interests. It does not make sense. Let's just say, I'll give you an example. Now, y'all know I got background in instructional technology and design. One of my focus areas is workforce learning and professional learning and development, right? Now, if I have a student that is, now mind you, I know a lot about AI, which I'm going to talk about a little bit about AI as well today. I know a lot about AI, but that's not my specialty. If a student wants me to be their advisor, which in my particular program, and this is something that you can find out from doing your research if you're able to reach out to some of the students in the program, because sometimes students are listed on their websites. If that's the case, you can reach out. You can find out how involved are the students with their faculty, their prospective faculty member. So if that person is someone who, in my program, we will be advising the student on their master's project as well. So I'm your program advisor, but I'm also your project advisor for your capstone project. We don't have a thesis for our program, not this particular one. And there are other programs in our college, we have thesis options, but not this one. But I'm going to be, so if that person is doing something related to AI, which I can manage, but people usually like to work with me when they're doing professional learning, workforce development, instructional design, training, technology integration, online learning. That's going to be a student that my background and my own professional goals and expertise are much more aligned toward. And I'm talking about a master's program. Now, Kevin, you talked about you're talking about research, doctoral programs, definitely. If you reach out to that faculty member and you can let that faculty know you've read their work and that your program of study, your research program, your intended research program, and what you've already done is in alignment with that person's research, and there are possibilities for you guys to work together, for you to be mutually beneficial to each other in the program, that definitely increases your chances. That faculty will vouch for you. And they will say, that's going to be that student. I like that student. Their interests are with mine. I can see how they could work in my lab, or I can see if there's a grant I have, and I can see how that student can contribute to my grant. Do you see what I mean? Why I said, how can you contribute? We want to know. We want to know because we want to bring students in that we can work with, because we're still working our own professional programs, our own research and practice programs. So we want to know. We want to know if you're a student that we can work with. So it has to be a win-win. It has to be a win-win. Okay, for most programs, especially programs like the ones that you guys are interested in. Okay, does that answer your question? Oh, I didn't see that one. Okay, right. Another thing, how to get in touch with professors then. Okay, yes. Okay, so you don't spam them. It is kind of like cold calling though, so it can be rough. There are a couple of, I love these questions. Thank you for asking. There are a couple of different ways. You can try to reach out with the faculty, reach out to the faculty member and express your interest in the program. You can do that. If it's someone who's very famous and they're very busy, they may not reach back. In that case, you go over to a program, if they have a program advisor or someone who's a coordinator of the program, like a program director of that particular program, get in contact with that person and say, hey, my name is Kevlin and this is my background, and I've been reading so-and-so's research and trying to reach them because I'm very interested in learning more about your program, and I would love to work with so-and-so. And what can happen, not always, but it can happen, and it often happens, is that person will direct your message to that faculty member and say, hey, a student contacted me and they had read your work. We love when y'all read our work, okay? Okay, but in a genuine way. Like, be genuinely interested in the work. Ask questions about the work. Ask questions. For example, yes, no problem. There's one other example I'd like to share too. If I have a dissertation or master's thesis research project that I'm working on, and I saw that my program, the program that I'm interested in, has a faculty member who was on a team to develop an instrument that I use to collect data, that they use to collect data with, that's similar to what I want to do. Ask them for a copy of the instrument. Tell them you want to use it, and that you're interested in how it was developed. Those are the kind of questions that people will respond to. Okay? Specific things about their work. Okay, any other questions before I move on? Okay. So again, the faculty mentioned, and then also in this paragraph, this person mentioned specific content related focus as well. Talked about the universal design for learning that we love so much in our program. And then also looking at we don't just only look at these two frameworks, but we very heavily rely on UDL and other types of frameworks and the web content accessibility guidelines, because we want to make sure that we're showing students how to create accessible content. And if anyone knows anything about universal design for learning, that helps all students regardless of their learning needs. So applying that model. This person was very interested in that, and they mentioned it specifically. Okay, so now why you would be successful. I have the proficiencies that align with what this program is about. This program is a technology-related program, an instructional design-related program. We're going to be using tools like Articulate 360. We're going to be using a learning management system, Canvas specifically. That's something you can find out from searching the website. We're going to be using AI. We have AI working groups at our school. So we're not shying away from AI. We embrace AI. We just want to teach our students the best way to use it, and to use it with integrity and with ethical considerations in mind. So this person knows that they did their research and they mentioned these things about, and the way they mentioned them, the way they mentioned these things was in a way that let me know that, hey, I have skills that I can bring to this program, to your learning community, and I want to be a part of it. Last paragraph, your big takeaways. Goals, your goal as a student is why you're coming to the program, and then a brief statement that reiterates the alignment between your goals and that program. Remember, the last thing we read is the thing that's going to stay in our minds the most when we're thinking about admission decisions. So you want to make sure you state that at the beginning and then restate it again in a different way at the end. Another thing that this student didn't do that I think is also good, depending on kind of like if you can learn more about the cultural attributes of the program, they didn't talk about their soft skills. There is nothing wrong. In fact, I think it's good to talk about your soft skills. So if you've done a lot of work with remote teams, for example, and you're in an online and you're applying to a fully online program, that might be something you want to mention. I'm a good team player and I know my way around remote teamwork. Any questions or things I can clear up about this? Your questions have been good so far, but I'd like to answer more if possible. Other questions? Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and move on. That was my last slide. So since we don't have any questions yet, I'm going to go ahead, and if you have any, feel free to chat and put them in a chat, or go ahead and unmute and share. This was just a brief overview of an approach, of one approach of many. There are so many different approaches that lead you to the same thing, a well-aligned essay. Aligned meaning you've done your research, you know what it is you're looking for, you've done your inner research, you've done your research on yourself, and you made some solid decisions about what you want in a program, what your goals are, and you can marry those two things in that letter, in that essay. Now, remember I was asking, does anybody feel like this is similar to how you write a cover letter? Anybody feel like this is similar? Yes, that's good, Mary. I'm so glad it's making you think about what you need to do. I would say start off first, that little reflection that I had you do, that's the first place to start. What do you really want? You might know your goals already. You might know like what your career aspirations are, what your immediate next step is after you finish the program. You might say, if after the program, I'm going to a doctoral program. If you're doing a master's, you might say, after the program, I want to do a fellowship, or I want an internship. Or you might say, I'm going straight to the workforce after this. And then say, ask yourself, what is it that you're going to do? What is your career field? Even if you don't have a specific job in mind, just having a general idea of the field matters. Because one thing I ask my students when they come into my program, when they've matriculated and we're doing our first advising appointment, I ask them, what are the skills that you want to take over from this program? What is the main thing? We have a diverse program it's lots of skills, lots and lots of things you can do. What are the things that you definitely want to do? What do you want to hone in on? And see, if you come with that already in your mind and you put it in your essay, it'll make us better able to see if you're a good fit for the program, if the program is a good fit for you. That's the other thing I should say. It's not just about getting in. You don't want to get into a program that you're going to be miserable in. Make sure you pick the right program, the program that is right for your needs and your wants and your goals. Then writing a letter will be easy. Writing the essay, writing the personal statement will be easy for you. You'll make an easy case of why this program is perfect for you. Because you know what you wanted and you researched the program and saw that they had it. So writing about it is a breeze. Laying that foundation is key. Definitely a big part of it. Okay. So, thank you gifts. I have a thank you gift for you. First of all, as a thank you for attending today, I want to give you some discounts. A 30% off coaching package. If there's a coaching package on my profile that is specifically for essay writing. If you book that package, 30% off that package. And the code is on screen so you can jot that down. If you want just hourly coaching because you don't need an extensive number of hours, just need an hour, 20% off any one session. Well, one or more sessions. 20% off that. So those are the thank yous that you get for just coming here and sharing your Saturday evening, early evening with me. Another thing that I'd like to offer you is if you take the survey on this screen, the link is, let me give you the link to the survey. You take this survey. You take that survey. I will send you a copy of the slide deck from today's session. You know, they oftentimes want us to put stuff behind the paywall, but I'm willing to, in return for you sharing things about more details about what you want and what you're trying to get and your email with me and what you need in return for you sharing those things, I will send you the slide deck. You don't have to worry about it being behind a paywall. Happy to share it. Actually, I hope it helps somebody. The next gift that I have, you're welcome. You're so welcome. The next free gift that I have, if you book the intro session with me, you know, you get a 15-minute intro session for free, the intro call. I'll give you another 15 minutes free. So if you book with me that first one, I'll send you the code for another 15 minutes free. So we can talk more about what you need and maybe even get into your essay a little bit if you have something written already. And if you book the second free session and the first free session, then I'll give you my RAB admissions essay tool. And what that tool is, it's basically a template with all of the cues and tips and strategies for writing your essay. All you got to do is type into it, follow the cues, and then you'll have a good first draft. Now, I want to say something about AI before I forget. I don't have a problem with AI. AI has been integrated into almost every technology tool that I use. A lot of higher educators are very disturbed about AI. I don't have an issue with AI. But I do tell my students, what is your mind going to do if you let AI do everything for you? Don't let your mind rot. So use AI to help you expedite things that might otherwise take a long time. It's not going to be able to produce the same things that you can produce because it's not you. But it can help you get started if you have writer's block, if you're at a loss. But my RAB essay tool can also help you get started if you're at a loss. So there's more than one way to do that. But definitely think about using AI in a way that is a help to you. It doesn't mean that you don't have to actually think. You use it to help you get a jumping off point or to clean something up and say it in a better way. Some ideas for writing. You don't let it write for you. Okay? So I'm staying here. That's it for me. I don't have any more slides or any more content for you. But if you have questions or want to talk about anything, I am here until we end the session. I have extra time. That's not even like me. Like normally I'm like racing with the clock. But you guys were a quieter group than what I'm used to also. And then I did plan for many more people to be here. So thank you for coming. I'm sticking around until 7:30. If anyone wants to talk further or run ideas past me or ask for further clarification on anything I've covered, I am here. I am here. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your time. And I'm hoping that someone finds good use out of these materials and these ideas. My long, hard-earned experience. Oh, yeah, it is, isn't it? It is coming up on that. You're welcome, Mary. But yeah, I like to do the hands-on stuff when I do coaching. Give you solutions, resources, and if I can't help you, I can refer you to other people based on what you need. Collaborative editing, love doing that, where we put it up on screen and we're logged in like in Google Docs and we could just both be editing away and talking about it. Love doing that. Program research, let's say you don't know how to navigate these websites or it's frustrating, you need somebody to help you with that and help with that too. And I think you probably already know that if you have a subscription coaching package, you can get access to Leland Plus. And that's where the recording for this will be, hopefully. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for taking the survey, Mary. It's a pleasure. I'm going to see if I can stop it from recording. I'll try to. I would like it to stop recording. This is my first time using the Leland tool. I had to learn it real fast. real fast. Oh. Gotta go ahead and stop sharing too. Yes, please do. Thank you, Mary. Oh, it doesn't? They told me I could stop it. Thank you for that. It's my first event. Yes, sure. Kevin. Between thesis and course-based masters, how do you figure out? Oh, I just wrote down I wanted to do a session about that. I'm going to do a session. Thank you for, if you take the survey, Kevin, make sure you write this in the future topics for webinars. Well, I'll give you the short version. So most research-based, yeah, thank you, Mary. Yeah, I thought I could stop it after, but it may not be able to be stopped. Most research-based masters are going to give you a path to more research. Your thesis is a little dissertation. It's a little dissertation is what it is. Mine didn't feel so little. Okay. My thesis took me like a year and a half to do. It was a research-based thesis though. And that's usually the thesis option is research. It is leading you down the path to more research. So if you're a person who wants to do more research, and that's your career goal, is to work in a research center or to go on for a dissertation, choose a master's that has a thesis option. If you are more practice-focused professional and you want to do research to practice, meaning evidence-based practice, I want to know about research, but I don't want to create it or do it. I might do some program evaluation maybe, but that's not exactly the same as research. Okay. It's a type of research, I suppose. Then you take the practice-based thesis, which some programs have a capstone like ours, which is a big project at the end, where it's like a cumulative project that you use, and you use all the skills that you've learned. Then other programs will have an exam, and that's it. And then some programs will have an internship and an exam, but it won't be a research-based thesis. It'll be some other type of cumulative project or exam or assessment. A portfolio, I've seen those. They have you compile a portfolio with artifacts of what you've done over the course of the program, and that's your master's project. That is a great question. Do they think if you did a master's, you did a thesis, and will ask what you did it on? In my experience, and I have to be honest, I don't have a whole lot of experience with that particular question, but the small amounts of things that I have seen out there, Kevin, is that people don't necessarily assume what you've done. Now, if you're like, what is your area exactly, Kevin? Can you remind me again what your area is? Because I know, like, if you're doing an MBA, 9 times out of 10, whatever job you're going to do will be other people that have MBAs, right? So they'll know what you did. They'll have an idea of what you did, because MBAs are, they have a lot of standardization across MBAs. Computer science. Okay. So in computer science, I don't know a whole lot of people in computer science, but I know that a lot of programs do have a thesis option. And I think you put that on your resume or Vita, if you're using a Vita. But you would put that down, what you did. If you did a thesis, you're going to write thesis, the word thesis, colon, and the title, or something like that. So people will know that you did a thesis. They'll know from your Vita or your resume, whichever one you use. Yeah. You're welcome. Any other questions? But I'll tell you too, if you have access to folks that are, if you're at a school already and you are in connection with a community of professionals in the field, you can also run these very specific field-specific questions by those folks. Also, another way to get access to those people is, if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn and find some LinkedIn groups and communities there. They can help you. Another way that you can make connections and have access to these professionals is to check out professional organizations in your field. I know in my field, we have professional organizations that have conferences, and they'll have whole mentoring sessions for the students to come and get help from professionals. Not just students, but also early career professionals can also come to these mentoring sessions as well. So this is something that you develop these relationships with these folks while you're in grad school or even in undergrad, and that those relationships can follow you on into your professional life. Yeah, that's how you make that network, And I teach online and I live my whole life online. So I'm always trying to find in-person things to do to stay connected with people. I'm tired of being online. I'm sick of it. Sick, sick, sick. So I like to get outside and be with people in the physical space, the physical world. But yeah. And if anybody has ideas for other things that I mentioned that I couldn't get deeper into or didn't get deeper into that might make a good webinar topic, please put that in your survey, because when I do more free events, I want to do events that matter to you guys. So if no one's going to be helped by it, then I don't want to do it, you know? Thank you. Any other questions or anything you want to see again? Thank you, Trevor. Thank you so much, Mary. GPA. Now that definitely, that's a tough question. Okay. I'm going to tell you why it's tough, because that is so much variation across programs. What we know about graduate school, what the research says about graduate school, is that GPA for most graduate programs does not determine if the person, it doesn't correlate as highly with academic success and academic outcomes as it does with undergraduate degrees. That's what the research says, right? So, however, when you have a program and you have only 10 slots and you get 70 applicants, you have to figure out something, somehow, some way to I hate to say it like that. I don't like saying that. To narrow it down, to narrow the pool down. So when we've had situations where we really wanted a student really badly because what they've done, their background, their goals, and things like that, and the student had a lower GPA, we will write. We will, and if they have to have a letter from the grad school, we'll actually write to say we would like to try to provisionally admit the student because the rest of their application is so very strong. But at schools and programs that are highly sought after, that's going to be rare that happens because they have so many strong students. So GPA will matter more because they're going to use it to narrow it down, to narrow the pool down. So there's a lot of variation. That's a question that you want to ask. If you can get in contact with an advisor, a student admissions advisor for the graduate program, or a graduate director of that program, you can ask them that. That's a good question for people in that program because they will be able to tell you more about how their program uses GPA. I hope that answered your question, Kevin. And Trevor, you asked about, yeah, no problem. You asked about graduate school. Let's see, the faculty are less hands-on with their students and the students. Now that, again, that varies by program, very much by program. So if you have a high research intensive, do you guys know about the Carnegie ratings? The Carnegie classifications. I'm going to share this with you real quickly. The Carnegie classifications. All right. This is a way that schools are classified based on their primary output. So schools like my school, Ohio State University, we're a very high research intensive institution. Okay. The school I graduated from was a high research intensive. There's high and there's very high. Well, that's what it was back in the day. The classifications might be a little bit different now. Like the actual names of them might be different. But so to answer your question, okay, so yeah, it's still very high research spending and doctorate production, or high research spending and doctorate production. And then there's research colleges and universities. those are good. That using that system is a good way to identify, to get some insight on that, a question that's similar to that. And let me tell you how this relates, Trevor. So when you have a program where the expectation on faculty is very high research spending, okay, that means that they're a grant focused institution. My institution is like that, very high grant focused institution. We like grants. That's what we like to do, right? Research grants. That's why the things that are happening with our country, with the cancellation of the federal grant, a lot of the federal grant programs hit us really hard because we depend on this grant money to fund students, okay, and to create our work, our scholarship, right? So as a result of that, faculty will oftentimes focus, and that means also they focus on that because their tenure process is heavily dependent on their scholarship production. So the more focused on research the school is, the higher the value of the scholarship production. So the expectations are higher. So in those cases, they will have less time to spend with students. They'll buy out of their classes if they have a lot of grants. So buyout means if I have I'm supposed to teach 4 classes a semester. I have a $5.5 million NSF grant. I may buy out of 2 of those classes so that my department will hire someone else to teach them. And I could just focus my time on the 2 I have and then the grants. And the grants, I'll hire students and fund them and have them work in my lab and whatever, right? But the work I do with students will be about that. And that work is intensive. When we have a student on a grant, we've spent a lot of time mentoring and working with that student. But if it's students that are not on our grants, are not in our research labs, then they get less of our attention because scholarship is the focus. So we want students who are going to be a part of that machine to produce excellent scholarship and publications and more grants. So if you find a school that has that, if having a lot of hands-on faculty attention is important to you, and you're not going to be doing a doctorate, where at a research, and you're not going to be doing research, you're not doing a doctorate, a research doctorate, okay, then you may want to target a school that has some practice focused programs. And that's not to say that schools that are very high and high research intensive institutions don't have practice focused programs, because they do. This is again where your research will pay off. And another way to find this out too, once you've narrowed it down just by using this classification system, is one way to narrow it down, is to get in contact with students there or other people. If you can't contact your faculty member of interest, anyone in that program, whether it's an advisor or admissions folks or someone like that, they can give you an idea of the level of attention that faculty are able to give their students. And it's not that faculty don't want to give their students their attention. It's just that tenure is a high stakes thing. And if you are working with assistant professors who are on the tenure track, then they're going to need to be able to produce so they can keep their jobs. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you don't get tenure, you basically lose your job at the end of that 6 years. So the focus is going to be on keeping their jobs. So now if you have a faculty that are more senior faculty, they've achieved tenure already, they may be able to do more hands-on work with students that isn't attached to scholarship production. Is this making sense, Trevor, at all? I hope so. Great. It's really a lot of variation, though. You have to really do the research to find out what that looks like. And I mean, that's the criterion that you would use to decide if that's a program you want, right? So if it's a program, you do your research and you find out that it's super high research activity, that's the focus, but you're not a researcher. That program may not be the one for you. And remember, just because the school has that rating, that Carnegie rating of very high research spending, that rating, that very high, doesn't mean that every program in the whole university will have that orientation. There will be some practice focused programs. You just have to you have to do your research. To do your research. We have about 3 minutes left. Are there any other questions? These are fantastic questions. Thank you, guys. Any other questions? I really appreciate these conversations. The one thing you should keep. Oh, can I give you 2? Can I give you 2? 2 things you should keep in mind as you start. Right at the beginning. Number 1. Oh, Mary, you should definitely inbox me. Even if you don't book coaching with me, I hope you do. But let's just say you don't. I can still tell you more about some of our online programs. Definitely that. Inbox me. 2 things to keep in mind as you go into grad school. 1, pick a program that meets your needs. It'll be easy to be successful there. Okay. That's about getting in and about selection. As you go into the program, okay, it's going to have to be 3 things. It's going to have to be 3. I got 2 more after that first one. As you go into the program, okay, remember there's a, what do they call it? It's just a saying. Everything is what you make it. You get out what you put in. People I know that had a horrible time in grad school, they had a bad attitude. They had a bad attitude. They had an attitude that was not conducive to enjoying the program that they chose. Have a great attitude. Be open-minded. Have the right attitude. Have an attitude that says, I am here to get the absolute best experience of my life. I'm going to spend some years here. I'm going to make it count. That's the second thing. The second thing. The last and final thing is do all your work. Do all your work. Plan to work hard. Plan to do all of the work. And when I say all of the work, I don't just mean classwork. Define your own learning plan for yourself. What you want to get out of this. You want to get the skills you came for. Do all the work to get the skills you came for. You want to get networking. You want to build a network. Do all the things that will help you build a network. Join professional organizations. Talk to your classmates. Make friends with the faculty and staff and the staff. Make friends with the staff. They're a part of your community too while you're there, and they can make your life really great or not so great. So make buddies with the people. Okay. And seek out opportunities. Seek out opportunities that feed into the work that you've committed yourself to. Do all your work. Do all your work. So first, select a program of your dreams that's perfect for you. Second, make sure you go into it with the right attitude. You get out what you put in. And 3, do all your work. And I'm saying that in a very comprehensive way. All your work, your academic work, your community building work, your enrichment work. And it is 7:31. Thank you guys so much for hanging out, asking me questions. This is amazing. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Please reach out to me. Love to hear from you. And if you took my survey, thank you. And I'll be sending the slides for you. Thank you, Mary. You guys made it easy. Thank you. Happy to do it. Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. They didn't tell me if they had a survey for these things. I figured they did. Do they give you guys?
Nah, they don't do that. But you did. I see that you did it at the beginning and the end. I really appreciate that.
Okay, cool. I mean, I didn't get feedback though. Like, But that's
I don't see a lot of people with this type of they focus on the other part of the application, so there's not really anybody who focuses on this part of the application. So I thought that it was great. I'll inbox you because I'm gonna try and figure out what I'm gonna be doing, and I'll pass this on to other students at my school too, because we're all trying to get ahead of these rounds, these application rounds. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. And let me know what I can do. Love to help. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the session. You too have a great day. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the holiday coming up. And good luck to you guys. Good luck to with all your goals and everything you're working on. Absolutely. Thank you, Trevor. Thanks to all of you who asked really good questions, and I appreciate it. All right. Take care.